Yeah,
Okay.
I'll start with an introduction. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Computer Vision Talks. And we are connecting after quite a long period because it seems speakers are busy submitting everywhere. So today we have with us Takeru. Takeru is a PhD student at the Autonomous Vision Group, University of Tübingen, supervised by Professor Andreas and Max Welling. Previously, he was also interning at Google Brain with Ian Goodfellow. He has been the secret ninja behind spectral normalization, a widely used technique to stabilize GANs. More recently, in a ICLR oral paper, Takeru helped co-invent AKOrN, a new kind of neuron meant to serve as a potential alternative beyond the McCulloch-Pitts neuron. Sorry for my pronunciation. If that's bad, please feel free
Mm.
to correct me after that. And Indeed, today Takeru will also give us an insider view on how these models could be applied to reasoning and LLMs, a very important topic these days. So over to you. Please start.
Okay. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, it's pronounced as acorn. It's the same as the like the I don't know how can I say the plant the acorn.
Okay.
So this is a work from my ICLR paper, last year's ICLR paper. We try to incorporate the synchronization dynamics into neural networks. This is a joint work from Tübingen University and University of Amsterdam. Okay. And so first, I want to introduce what is synchronization. So synchronization is a kind of fundamental phenomenon seen everywhere in nature, from biological system to mechanical structures. For example, on the left panel, I'm showing the synchronizing fireflies. Although like each firefly initially flashes individually at its own rhythm, when gathered together, they spontaneously synchronize their flashing rhythm, and they collectively create a simultaneous blinking. The center image illustrates the synchronization in bird flocks. Flying birds rapidly respond to the movements of nearby individuals, which allows the flock to move cohesively. Almost, we can see it as if it were a single organism. On the right picture, the diagram demonstrates neural synchronization, a brain neural synchronization between two animals cooperating on the same task. And basically, when animals work together closely, their brain waves tend to align or synchronize. Also, synchronization mechanisms underpins several key mechanisms of neurons. For example, winner-take-all competition, feature binding, information compression in neuron states. The, the Kuramoto model, which is introduced in 1975, is a very famous mathematical model that describes synchronization mathematically. So basically, each oscillator has data influenced by its connection, Jij, and the natural frequency omega that determines each oscillator own frequency. Basically, the balance between Jij and omega determines the strength of synchronization. So I will show a movie. So, so here, uh, there are a lot of oscillators, and they are connected through the coupling strength Jij. And also each oscillator has own frequency omega. And on the left panel, it shows this is a case where omega is very strong compared to the connectivity Jij. So basically, the model, each oscillators is not affected by connected oscillators. It's it's moving based on its own frequency. So basically, because the omega is randomly sampled in this case, each oscillator is moving independently. And on the right-hand side panel, this is a case where JIJ, the connectivity is very strong compared to the own natural frequency term. So it's stops. Just a moment. Yeah, on the right-hand side panel, omega is very connectivity is very strong, so that each and the oscillators like exhibit kind of collective patterns. So they move, their movement is synchronized together. So this is a kind of like a simple example of how the how the connections and frequency determines the collective behavior of Kuramoto models. So in our work, we introduced the idea of using Kuramoto model as a layer of neural networks. The key idea is to incorporate the Kuramoto model as an iterative layer of the neural networks. One important property of this setup is that it enables information compression through synchronization dynamics in the neural network states. We can see this for example, when oscillators synchronize, their directions or phases become aligned, which effectively reduce the dimensionality of the representation. In that sense, synchronization acts as a natural inductive bias that encourages the model to learn compressed and structured feature representations. Another perspective is that the Kuramoto model can be seen as a continuous analog of Ising model, which has been used for solving combinatorial problems. This connection suggests that the system can capture collective behaviors and interactions that are useful for reasoning-like processes. So based on this formulation, we introduce artificial Kuramoto Oscillatory Neurons, which is called AKOrN, as a dynamical alternative to threshold neurons. We investigate the capability of an AKOrN, and what we observe is that this neuronal mechanisms fundamentally changes the behavior of the network. For example, the model is able to learn object-bound features, and it achieves supervised object segmentation performance that is competitive with de facto standard models. And also we find that the model exhibits strong reasoning capabilities, especially in out-of distribution scenarios. Finally, this system is also robust to various types of perturbations, including random noises, adversarial inputs, and natural corruptions, while maintaining surprisingly good calibration. Oh, I will talk about this robustness property in this talk as well. So let me explain the AKOrN model. So AKOrN, in a nutshell, AKOrN is a kind of AKOrN extends the original Kuramoto dynamics from a one-dimensional circle to higher dimensional hyperspherical neurons. This generalization enables the model to have greater expressivity as a layer. So basically, the AKOrN dynamics consists of coupling terms JIJ and conditional inputs that encodes the input information. I will explain later. And not the multidimensional extension of natural frequency that determines each oscillator's dynamics. And this projection denotes the projection operator that maps the incoming signal, which is C plus Jx onto the tangent space of the hyperspherical manifold. So in that paper, with this projection operator, this AKOrN dynamics includes the original Kuramoto dynamics as a special case. I will not dig into that property here. So if you're interested in, please look at the paper. So let me explain how this C and JIJX acts in an illustrative example. So here we have this binary mask as an input, and this is fed into the AKOrN model as an conditional stimuli C. And basically, so is it set the all one vectors outside of silhouette, so here in the white region, and it's set to the all zeros vector inside of the silhouette. So basically, which means that each oscillator will be strongly binded to the conditional stimuli outside of the silhouette, while the inside of the silhouette, each oscillators are affected by connected oscillators. So given this input, AKOrN dynamics apply like forces to the oscillators, like encouraging them to synchronize together inside of the silhouette, and the oscillator states like become a spatially propagated waving pattern. So here showing that like various wave dynamics emerge based on the connectivity and the conditional bias signal. So we can see that how AKOrN can encode spatial structures of inputs and connectivity through synchronization. So we use this AKOrN dynamics as a layer of neural networks. So unlike conventional neural networks, we process the pair of oscillators X and conditional stimuli C. So here is the... So first in our proposed network, we first create the initial X and C. So X is just randomly sampled from a uniform distribution on the sphere, while C encodes the input information. So process C here, we pre-process or we apply like a learned convolution function to create initial conditional stimuli. And for example, like such like a pre-processing is like a patchification in VIT and then applying the convolution or linear layer to each patch. And we get this conditional stimuli that includes the input information. So given C and X, we iterate the Kuramoto layer I explained just before. So basically, each X is updated by Kuramoto update, while C is fixed across time steps. We iterate large C times here. And this is we use the discretized version of ordinal differential equation. So after application of T times iterative layers, we encode the next conditional stimuli from the last step oscillator states. So here, like readout blocks, we applied readout blocks to the last layers X, which consists of just simple MLP whose parameters is learned through the backpropagation. And the last state of X oscillators and the newly created conditional stimuli is passed to the next layer, next block of Kuramoto blocks. So we iteratively apply these Kuramoto blocks multiple times. For example, in an image classification task, we use 3 stacks. We use a stack of 3 Kuramoto blocks to make a final prediction and final oscillators that is used to make a make a prediction for each task. And all parameters are trained through are optimized through the backpropagation, given the task loss. So regarding the connectivity J, we tested two types of connectivities, convolution and self-attention. So basically, convolution is local connectivity, while attention can make a global. We can see attention as a global connectivity, which is modulated by the input. And as a side note, by constraining J to be symmetric, we can prove that uh, like this this dynamics has a this has this dynamics has Lyapunov property, which means this dynamics is always minimizing a certain energy, which is defined behind this equation. But constraining the dynamics or constraining J to be symmetric, we find such constraint is very like restrictive. So we don't impose such symmetric constraints. So while we don't have such symmetric constraints, we see the energy is minimizing. So which means the features are synchronizing together. We don't have a very specific mathematical explanation on this phenomena, but empirically, without symmetric constraint, the models is learn to have synchronized states. So in the experiments, we conducted three tasks. The first one is unsupervised object discovery. The second one is Sudoku solving, and the last one is image classification. So I will explain first the unsupervised object discovery results. So the first task is unsupervised object discovery, where we evaluate how much models features align with object masks appearing in a scene. First, we train models in a self-supervised manner. We use SimClear algorithm to learn good features. Then, after the training of SimClear method, training with SimClear method, we evaluate the alignments between learned features and ground truth object mask. The procedure is like first applying the clustering to the learned features of conditional stimuli, last layer's conditional stimuli, and compute the alignment between the obtained clusters and ground truth labels. So here is this slide compares the clusters produced by a standard self-attention model and also the clusters produced by our AKOrN model. So the first column shows the input that is fed into the network, and the second column shows the clustered feature representation produced by iterative self-attention, and the third column shows the AKOrN model's features, and the last column shows the ground truth masks. So basically, we see that self-attention often merges multiple objects into a single cluster. For example, like this here, the features are assigned to the same cluster while it encodes the different object features. While AKOrN model produces neat clusters compared to the iterative self-attention. Also, the self-attention model breaks the background into too many fragments like this, but AKOrN model gets more like coherent clusters on the background features. We quantitatively evaluate the quality of the AKOrN produced features compared to the other compared to the defect standard, like object-centric models that gets better, that has been get good performance on unsupervised object discovery. So we see that we found that AKOrN model gets better or competitive accuracy um, compared to the default standard model, which is slot-based models on synthetic data sets. So what we find is that self-supervised objective plus AKOrN is very well aligned with object discovery performance. So if we train deeper model, if we train larger, and if we train longer, the performance continuously improves. So deep models get better like object assignments of larger models with more epochs produces better object aligned features that can clearly separate objects while not distracted from the background image, the background textures. For example, the small model sees that these like black uh, black textures, like maple textures as object, while the bigger model see these patterns as one of background textures. So this yeah. In summary, the model gets better, like its model gets more human-like feature representations. The model is able to scale to natural images. AKOrN works well beyond synthetic dataset. So we first train the model on ImageNet dataset and apply that model to like the famous object discovery dataset like COCO and Pascal VOC. And we see that while dino segments pass in a too fine manner, while AKOrN's clusters is well aligned with the kind of objects uh, like aligned with the a ground truth object behind the scene. And this is it. So when we look at how the oscillators behave in trained models, we can see the clear hierarchy. So in early layers, oscillators capture local high frequency features, while as we move deeper, they transition to lower frequency and global waves, which show the higher layers integrate global information of the images. So these are results of the object discovery model. And the next task the next task where we apply the model is a Sudoku solving. So the task is, so the model, the very similar to like a usual supervised learning. So first, the model see this like a board with a lot of blanks, and model tries to predict the uh, correct digits that is fit into these blanks. So the models are trying to classify the digit on each blank square in a supervised classification. The important thing is that because the model doesn't know doesn't know the rule, so the model needs to learn both rule and exploration strategy. So we use two data sets, in distribution set and out of distribution set. So in distribution set is like a boards whose distribution is matched to the training distribution. So basically, the model is trained on ID set, which is relatively easy because the given digits is it has a lot of given digits. While OOD sets are more difficult task, so it only contains fewer digits than the training set. The model needs to learn well generalizable like a rule from ID set. So results is, first of all, almost all the model we tested in these experiments get 100% accuracy on distribution balls. The model can predict the correct digits on the balls that are matched to the training distribution. While if we apply that trained model to OD boards, it only gets 18% accuracy. But this accuracy can be increased by the two techniques of test time compute, which I will explain later. So basically, for example, you see in distribution board, the model predicts correct digits, while on OD boards, it still has incorrect a prediction in its a board prediction. So one of the test time inference technique used in our AKOrN model is extending the Kuramoto updates. So in the training time, we train the model with fixed number of steps of Kuramoto updates. At test time, we increase the number of updates that updates in the AKOrN layer. So this is the result of the prediction with at time step 16. So it still has incorrect predictions. While if we extend the time step to 62, it gets so it gets the all predictions are correct. So which can be thought as a longer thinking. It's a similar to chain of thought. So in the test time, when the model is applied to a difficult task, we can increase the performance by let the model think longer. So by increasing the number of time steps for evaluation, the model performance continuously increases with AKOrN model. While if we do the same thing for self-attention model or without AKOrN structure, until 32 time steps, the model performance increases, but after that, the model's performance significantly drops. But still, we see that some balls are correctly solved by test time extension of Kuramoto steps, while we see some balls are not solved by just extending the test time Kuramoto steps. Another technique we introduced in the paper is energy-based voting. So I mentioned briefly in the previous slide that if we constrain the models if we confine the model connectivity to be symmetric, we have proper energy function that is guaranteed to be minimized by chromodynamics. But we see that this energy value is decreased with asymmetric or asymmetric connection. And also we see that the energy value tells the board correctness very well. So this is the histogram of energy values of different set of oscillators. And so we see that, and blue histogram means like the oscillators that produces correct prediction, while orange means that the oscillators that produces wrong prediction. And so this picture shows that the energy, this value, when the energy is energy is low, then that's the prediction made with that oscillators tend to be correct. While energy is high, that prediction tend to be wrong. So we can see, so basically we can use this property to pick up the good solution by looking at the energy value. So the procedure of energy-based modeling is that first we sample multiple set of oscillators and apply Kuramoto layers multiple times. Then we pick up the best oscillators that achieves that achieves smallest energy among these sampled oscillators. Then by increasing the number of set of oscillators, the border accuracy goes to increases a lot from 50 to almost 90. So basically this trend continues to continues more than this value 1024. So as we increase the number of oscillators, then a number of set of oscillators, then we are able to pick up like a correct kind of oscillators that makes some good prediction. Yeah, this figure shows that trend. This is log linear plot, and then by increasing the number of oscillators, it's approaching to the zero errors in pseudo-board accuracy, pseudo-board errors. So which means that the model implicitly learns correct route inside of the network, while the placement strategy, so how to fill the blank in the course of the updates, are not good enough, or it's very inputs the initial oscillator dependent. But anyway, it gets very good performance by sampling multiple set of initial oscillators. Yeah, the performance with AKOrN gets state-of-the-art performance among the existing methods. And the model gets better performance than diffusion transformers and also diffusion plus energy-based models, which is called IRED. And the final task is image classification. We train the AKOrN model on C410 datasets. We stack 3 AKOrN iterative layers, which is similar to usual convolutional neural networks. And we evaluate the trained models on clean, adversarial, and naturally corrupted C410 datasets. So first of all, we find that AKOrN is very robust to strong random noises. So this is the images that are fed into the model, so which is highly perturbated, but model can, for example, this is the perturbated images of a plane. Maybe this is the perturbated images of dog. This is maybe 2 eyes, mouth. And even with these highly perturbated images, the model can make a correct prediction. So basically, resonance performance is close to the chance level, which is close to 10%, while our model achieves 50% accuracy. So interesting is that, yeah, without natural frequency, the robustness is going down from the full model. Also, without random initialization of oscillators. So in this case, we just use the input embeddings as an initial set of oscillators, but the model still gets good robustness accuracy. So we conducted a little bit of experiments to explain why this robustness happens. So when we look at the first layers oscillators movement, we see that it's very highly fluctuating. So this is the like evolution of oscillators when we along the different time steps. We see that like it generates kind of deterministic noises on the feature space of the in the oscillator states. So from this visualization, we can think that like maybe Gaussian perturbation to the input can like realize the same robustness even with the standard networks. But if we add very strong like noises to the input in resonant model, that robustness performance is not as good as the AKOrN model. So it gets like we added strong noises to the input of ResonNet so that the performance matched to the AKOrN's clean performance. But under the same clean performance, under the same performance model, the ResonNet robustified ResonNet does not get good adversarial robustness as good as AKOrN. Also, the like calibration is not good. So we can say that these generated noises from Kuramoto dynamics has very different property than just random noises. And also we see that AKOrN's output is very well calibrated. There are a lot of heavily regularized models in the among literature. But basically these are like the heavily regularized models. Those models are overly conservative, while non-regularized models tend to be overconfident. So let me explain this figure. So the vertical axis shows the accuracy, and horizontal axis shows the confidence value of the softmax output. And yeah, ResonNet. So ResonNet is overconfident, regularized model over-conservative, while AKOrN model, like all the models calibration, or AKOrN models confidence is very well calibrated. It's almost achieved linear correlation between accuracy and confidence. And it achieves the important thing is that AKOrN achieves this almost perfect correlation without any explicit regularization. Yeah, this is the end of the presentation. Do you have any questions?
Thanks, Takeru, for the great presentation. So, does the participants have any further questions? So, in the meanwhile, I have a quick question. So,
Yep.
did you do any experiments on transformer-based architectures? Because, or is it like only applicable to CNN-based architectures?
Basically, these models are, I would say, transformer, like Sudoku experiments, and the object discovery experiments we use like attention as a connectivity. So we could say this is similar to transformer models. So yeah, for these two tasks we used a very similar kind of very similar model to transformers, where we use attention connectivity for the like a JIJ connectivity, and we also use MLP to encode the information from oscillators that outputs the like a conditional stimuli next pass to the next layer.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So there is a recent architecture called CANs, right? Kolmogorov network.
No, it's
It is
not
very different line of work, or is it similar to?
very different. I don't think there's a very close connection between CAN and these types of network.
Because they also ultimately try to focus on robustness of the network, right? Or
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the CAN
okay,
in
sure.
detail, but I think I would say the architecture is more similar to conventional neural networks, but the like a neuron definition is a bit different from usual models.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nikhil, there's also a question in the chat from
Yep.
Deepti. She's asking the performance is good, but what about the execution time?
Execution time is basically same as the like a comparative methods. For example, like so in this experiments we compare AKOrN-based model and with Dino or MocoVSD, which are famous self-supervised models. Actually, the training time and computational time for inference are very small compared to these like large models, but it gets better performance. Basically, the performance there's no very like significant like bottleneck in the
Mm.
computational time.
Mm.
Also, we the
Okay, so
comparison between like our model is kind of trained in a comparative time to those like existing models.
There's another question in the chat. Please feel free to post more. I have a couple of questions myself. So, Vaishnavi is asking if this can be used in real-time applications, or what are the deployment challenges in real-time scenarios?
Real-time scenario means that can you elaborate a bit more about the real-time scenario?
Vaishnavi, can you give us an example? But from what I understand, it could be like, for example, predicting on the fly with a deployed system. So,
I think it's the same as the usual transform models. So yeah, if like because we are using self-attention mechanisms to define the connectivity. So the performance or like a inference time performance is very bound to the current like technology or current technique to reduce the transformers inference time, for example. So I don't think in real-time application, I don't think there are very like severe problems in the AKOrN model.
Okay. There's another question from Van. He thanks you for the great talk, and he wants to understand the motivation of using a Kuramoto model. There are a lot of dynamical models, and he suggests that it is impossible to try all of them. But how did you come up with this approach? How can I know which options, as in dynamical models, are useful and worth to proceed with?
So why we apply Kuramoto model is that first of all, like Kuramoto models, the dynamics is somehow similar to attention. So for example, when we look at the original Kuramoto model, the like basically it's a little bit different from self-attention actually, but the connection is modulated by like the nearby like oscillators, which is similar to so this sign term defines the modulation of the connectivity based on the phase difference between connected neurons. So which is similar to attention. So in attention, we compute the query and key, and attention matrix is computed based on the like a similarity between query and key value. So one of the first motivation to use this model is because it's very close to like attention mechanism. First of all, at first glance, the model can be seen as similar to attention, while that we realize that the model is a little bit different, or the model's definition exists in a different level compared to the attention. Attention is a sort of more high level structure, while Kuramoto model is more like a low level structure that determines the new single neuronal behavior. Yeah, of course, there are a lot of other models that can induce synchronization phenomenon in like artificial neurons. Yeah, but Kuramoto models is very like the most famous one that we wanted to apply that model to see how synchronization dynamics is effective in neural networks. Of course, there are a lot of other maybe dynamics, but for example, we tested several different dynamics before, but we couldn't see so much improvement by that model compared to the Kuramoto model-based synchronization dynamics. Does this answer to the question?
Yeah, yes, it does.
Okay.
Another question is, how sensitive is AKOrN to the choice of coupling functions and the initialization of oscillator phases? Does poor initialization leads to degenerate synchronization modes?
Yeah, the dynamics is sometimes very depending on the initialization of the oscillators.
Mhm.
As for example, as we show in the Sudoku problem, depending on some initialization leads to correct prediction, while some prediction um, some initialized states doesn't reach to the correct states of the oscillators. But I don't see so much like a degeneration with bad oscillators. Anyway, the models are trained to predict to make a good prediction via backpropagation. In that sense, and also oscillators are randomly sampled at each training steps. Models somehow like avoids the model is trying to avoid, or the model is trying to not to have such like bad initialization. I would say model is trying to make modestly good prediction across different initialization. And yeah, I don't see so much like, for example, in pseudo problem, sometimes the performance is sensitive to the initialization, but I don't see so much sensitivity in, for example, object-centric tasks. We don't see so much difference when we sample different set of oscillators. Yeah. Yes. That's some
Okay, I have one
kind of.
last
Yeah.
question. But
Sorry.
if anyone, no worries, if anyone from the audience has any more questions, please feel free to post them in the chat. Or Nikhil, if you want to take up after this one question, please feel free. My last question is more like a conceptual or a big picture question that what's the relationship between the number of synchronization steps and the depth of reasoning that the network can achieve? Like, is there any
Yeah.
analogy to iterative refinement?
Yeah, I would say the the number of Kuramoto steps can be seen as like a refinement steps of the states. Of course, the model cannot get good performance with fewer steps of synchronization.
Mhm.
For example, in the Sudoku problem, we trained the model with 16 time steps during training. The model for example, doesn't produce a good performance with, for example, 4 time steps or 8 time steps for the training. Basically, it depends on the task difficulty. Like pseudo problem requires like around more than 12 steps to make perfect accuracy in distribution board. And of course, in all these set, because model needs to have more refinement steps to make a good prediction. So basically, we can see this synchronization steps as a refinement steps, and also the optimal steps very depends on the task difficulty.
I see.
Takeru, I have one quick question. So, what
Yeah.
are your plans for the future work? Are you planning to extend this work, or do you see any particular challenges where people can work on?
Yeah, mm, one of my impression on this model is that yeah, it introduced some regularity on the network. Sometimes that regularity helps the model to have like generalization or degeneralization, while such regularity hurts the model's expressivity still. For example, like this model doesn't get like comparable performance on like more larger scale data sets, like for example, like an ImageNet classification.
Mhm.
I tried several times to get to see the performance of AKOrN model on ImageNet, but I didn't see the performance is better than usual like a transformer-based model, VIT or ResNet model. So I'm not sure why that why the model sometimes suffers from underfitting problem. But one of my hypothesis is that it's because we are using back propagation to train these models. So I see that the models like Lipschitz condition or like models input sensitivity can be
Mhm.
very high. So like sometimes the 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 gradient of loss with respect to input is very high, which means that like the, the back propagating errors that is added to the weights tend to very high in bottom layers, which make the training break.
Okay.
So maybe we need very different types of optimization to such like synchronization based dynamics. For example, there are a lot of works. There are several works that apply equilibrium propagation, which is a bit a different optimization method, which is a more like a biologically plausible optimization algorithm. Some people try to apply that optimization to synchronized based models. And I'm curious to see what will happen with that like kind of biologically plausible optimization algorithms. beneficial to AKOrN training, synchronized based models training. And also, um, as a subsequent one, I didn't explain this time, but we have ICML submission, which uses AKOrN dynamics to sequential reasoning, where and since the AKOrN dynamics helps the model to organize the input, helps the model to organize kind of like information or memory within a network. And it gets, for example, we see that the AKOrN-based sequential model, AKOrN-based recurrent model gets better length generalization or a bit better generalization on out of distribution environments, for example. Yeah, I'm wondering these. So basically AKOrN is nonlinear dynamics. So if we use AKOrN dynamics as a recurrent structure or recurrent neural networks, it's a it becomes a nonlinear recurrent neural networks. So nonlinear neural networks cannot be parallelized, like for example Mamba, linear transform variants. So in that sense, the model is very not suitable for GPUs, which is made for parallelizable computation. But we kind of speculate that there are a lot of things that can only be done by such nonlinear, non-parallelizable neural networks. And yeah, we see that the model, our like a sequential AKOrN model, gets better performance than such Mamba or non-linear recurrent neural networks. So yeah, the problem is, of course, you need a lot of time to conduct experiments. Also, in the current situation, the model will not get better performance if it's compared under the same like a computational time or same computational complexity. But yeah, I'm still kind of interesting to see such nonlinear recurrent models. What is the like oh, I would say like how such nonlinear recurrent models is like is beneficial, or like how good that nonlinear recurrent models when we have very different types of GPUs, I know different types of accelerators, not GPUs.
Okay, sure. Got it. So any more questions from the audience?
I think no, we are good to go. I would like to thank you for your time, Takeru. It was really
Thank you.
interesting to hear this talk, as people also say in the chat. Thank you for taking out your time, and indeed, this direction of architecture novelty is something that's super interesting. And the points you raise about Mamba not being very suitable for GPUs versus how these ones can actually be extended into some substantial future work is very insightful. I'm thankful to you. I'm also thankful to Rajat for connecting us for this great talk. And indeed, we look forward to much more cool work from you, the ICML paper as well.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Thank you for inviting me to this computer studies talk.
Thank you so much. It was our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Takeru. It's a pleasure to
Yeah.
attend the talk. So for the participants, if you want to share the lecture with anyone, we'll be posting it in YouTube. You can share it with your fellow researchers if they are interested in such line of work. Yeah.